Another video. My name is Natalie Walters and I'm the founder of Reset with Nat. I'm a life insurance agent here in Ontario, Canada, and today's topic is about identifying your need for life insurance. How did I get started in this industry? A few years ago, I was looking for an opportunity and just ended up talking to a coworker when I was in bankruptcy and how I was having challenges with just money management and such. And he said, I'm going to introduce you to my advisor. The advisor came to my house and the conversation didn't start off with typical budgeting. It didn't start off with investing. The conversation started off with what if? What if you were injured? What if you were sick? You have this handsome son, you have your other half. What if something was to happen to you? What if my income was not able to be provided to the household anymore because of me passing? What if I was unable to contribute because you're off sick, you get a little bit of unemployment, and whatever percentage that is, it still doesn't equate to the full percentage you would get when you're working. What about if you were caught with a critical illness? If something happened and you couldn't work for a certain period of time and you needed to use your time to recover, how are your bills going to be paid? That hardship and that strain financially gets passed off to the other person. That's if there's another person in your home. What if there isn't? Who carries that burden? And as a parent, how does this affect your child's well-being? Your ability to provide the way you do when you have your consistent income. What happens when your income is lost? Think about the emotional part of not being around to teach our children, love our children, guide our children, protect our children. But then there's that, if I'm not around, how is my young child going to be taken care of? Yes, if there's another parent, that person will then take on the responsibility, and them taking on that responsibility would be very, very hard. So this conversation that we had went deep, and I was like, whoa. And then the gentleman said to me, this is where life insurance is very important as a part of our foundation and our financial plan. And I was like, I remembered when my grandfather passed away, my dad had said to me, you need to get some life insurance. You have this young child, blah, blah, blah. And it was a very quick statement, very like, there was no context on the topic. I was fairly young mom, not too young, but at the same time, I was like, whatever. Okay. And then he didn't give me any referral to speak to anyone. So I just, one day was talking to one of my coworkers who was an older woman who had children that were around my age or a little younger than me, but she was a mature woman and she had a home, she had a family that she cared for, she had a husband. So I said to her, look, my dad mentioned something about life insurance and I'm not too sure. What do you think about that? And she said to me, no, you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You don't need that. You're all right. You're healthy. You're strong. You don't need to think about those things. When you think about those things, you call it onto yourself. So, you know what? I was like, okay. You know what I mean? I just kind of left it alone. Thankfully, I was okay. Nothing happened to me. But I neglected to get the insurance at that time, which was 10 years, 10 to 15. Yeah, about 10 years prior to meeting this gentleman. So when I spoke to the gentleman now, he's telling me about the different types of insurance, the cost of insurance. He's asking me a series of questions about my finances, about our household expenses, about my goals for myself, my family. There was a series of questions that were asked. And when I sat there, I thought about it. I was like, listen, sir, sign me up. Sign me up. Get it for my child. Get it for my spouse. We all need it. Like at the end of the day, no one in this household should not be insured. And the reason why I made that decision was because if I'm going to be insured as a partner, then the other person should have the insurance as well. It goes both ways. If something was to happen to me, there's a benefit to that person. Tax-free, lump sum. If something's to happen to them, then me, I would be able to benefit in that way. And then our child would not be left in a particular situation where it's like hardship financially, emotionally. It's a disaster. I don't want that. So everybody had to get it. Why for the child? Well, once I learned about the cost of the insurance and the opportunity that I missed getting the insurance at a younger age, I said, you know what? Let me lock in this insurance for this child, especially because he was young. So one thing about insurance is affordability, always at its lowest when you are your youngest. Now, my mission is to educate my community of mothers who are, or fathers who are in education, who are professionals, who know that their responsibility to their children is at the utmost importance to them. We do our best to raise these children, provide for these children, care for these children until they become young adults. Once they become young adults and they start to live their own lives, then you teach them and you let them acquire their own policies, or the policy then can be transferred to themselves. But in the meantime, I wanted to make sure that, listen, everybody's protected. At that time, I was introduced to one type of insurance, and that was term insurance. It was just you just covering the costs of if anything happens to you right now, and what's going to happen in the next few years. How many more years would you think that your spouse would need the funds to care for your child until your child is independent? So my son was very young, so therefore I needed at least 20 years of insurance. Over the last few weeks, I've been also talking about wellness in itself. It's just overall wellness, because I recognize the importance of mental health, physical health. And that was because I actually ended up going to the hospital due to feeling pain in my chest. A series of events, a series of times over and over where I felt this pain in my chest, and it was like excruciating. I was at an event and I had to leave. Well, thankfully there was people at the booth there. Shout out to Great Matter Health and her team. They saw me and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I was crunched over. I couldn't move. There was just such a sharp pain inside my chest here." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And they said, "Do you want to call the ambulance?" I said, No, I couldn't get up. But this time, like, I've had the pain before, but this time it was just prolonged. And she said, no. Now she's a therapist. I believe she's a therapist or a psychotherapist, one of those practices. And she was like, no, you need to go to the doc. You need to go to the hospital. We should call the ambulance. And I said, no, don't worry about it. What I'll do is I'll just take a taxi, because the pain subsided. They had me sit down. I had water. I went to the hospital. After being in the hospital and having several tests, I was okay. I was not admitted. When I left the hospital now, so on the way to the hospital, I called my significant other. I called my advisor first, and I let her know, listen, I'm on my way to the hospital because I'm having this chest pain. I want you to know that just in case my other half calls you, da 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 da. And she's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm having a chest pain. I'm on the way to the hospital. So I just want you to know that if anything happens to me." And she was like, "It's okay, Natalie. Like, calm down, whatever, whatever." And then I said, "Okay, I'm fine. I'm just gonna call him and make sure he has your number. Da da da. Okay." So I called my other half and I let him know, and I was like, "Oh, this is what's happening, and my policy, this is where the information is, and this is where you can call her if you need any immediate help, whatever, whatever." Yeah, that was me. The one thing that I was confident and I felt good about at that point in time was that I was covered with insurance. I had my term, I had my whole life, and I had my critical illness insurance all bundled up and ready to go in case of anything. That was my confidence in whatever the outcome would have been. I felt okay. And that's what I want you to feel. I want you to feel the same way, because life is something else, especially over the last few years. Whew, life has been lifing. When I see people on Instagram and all the social media apps living it up, talking about this, doing that, but then there's that post that comes up, and it's either an end of the year wrap up, or it is just a message that they felt compelled to share, either about themselves and how they were showing up but going through so much trouble mentally or physically, health concerns, family having health concerns or mental health concerns, financial stress. There were so many posts that I've seen. I've seen so many GoFundMe pages coming up on my timeline, where spouses or significant others are now saying, oh my gosh, I need help. My person was fine. I didn't know. We didn't expect this. The reason why this topic is about identifying your need for insurance is because it's not a one size fits all. When someone tells you, I pay this amount for insurance, there's a reason why they pay that amount for insurance. It should be based on the conversation that they have with the advisor. The conversation should be transparent. The conversation should be comfortable. There should be a divulging of information that sometimes you don't divulge to other people within your immediate circle. And confidentiality is important. So therefore, when you have that conversation, you will be able to know, okay, these are my goals. These are my responsibilities. These are the things that I need to get taken care of in the event of this, that, and this. This is what I want to happen. This is how much it should be. You would be looking at your budget. You would be looking at your expenses. You'd be looking at the cost of living at the time when whatever is supposed to happen. There's an equation that gets put together, and then that determines how much insurance is needed. Not only that, there's also the understanding this is short term, this is long term. When I'm covering the short term, what type of insurance is best for that? So there's term insurance for temporary needs. There's permanent insurance for long-term needs. There's critical illness insurance, and that insurance is in the event of a terminal illness. Sometimes people say, oh, well, I don't have a family history of such and such condition, so I don't think I need that. Well, guess what? The way the food is, the way the environment is, the way the stress levels are, it's important that you get critical illness insurance. That is a living benefit. You see, there are death benefits to insurance. That's you passing and a beneficiary receives that lump sum. But then there is living benefits in insurance. And the living benefits are, whilst you are alive, there are funds that are able to help you sustain your lifestyle. When you get the right amount of insurance, it will allow you to sustain your lifestyle. The thing about these benefits that get paid out to either your beneficiary or yourself is that it is a tax-free benefit. It's not like you file your income tax, you have to report those funds. No, it's a tax-free benefit. You work your salary and you make 120,000, you make 50,000, you get 50,000 or you get 120,000 in critical illness insurance. When you work, your 120,000 is taxed. You see it in your paycheck, you know your salary. But the thing is, when you purchase a policy for critical illness and it is 150,000 or it's a $50,000 policy, You are getting a check for that amount. And when it comes to income tax time, those funds are not looked at as income. When your family is in receipt of that benefit, if there's a passing, they have all of these responsibilities that they have to take care of. It should be known, it should be discussed. Those funds that they receive are tax-free. Why life insurance matters? It's also peace of mind. As I mentioned before, when I knew that I was on my way to the hospital with this chest pain and I wasn't sure, the first thing I did was call my advisor. I'm on the way to the hospital. I'm like, okay, it was only 5 minutes away from where I really was at the event. So that's why I really didn't want the ambulance. That's why I didn't want the ambulance. But at the same time, it was like I had peace of mind. I called the advisor. This is what's up, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I called my significant other. I said, listen, this is what's up, blah, 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 blah. But my thing was, we don't know. So if anything, I knew that there were funds available to take care of my kid for how many years. Now there's a process. The discussion about the insurance, the discussion about your goals, your wants, your needs. Actually, you're talking about your goals, wants, and needs first, and then you're talking about the types of insurance. The person has to listen to you and know what it is that you want, and then they tell you about the different types of insurance. If they tell you vice versa, as long as it gets done, that's what's important. But it's important to know that we're prioritizing you. So really and truly, it's about listening to you and then determining, hey, how can I help my client get the most and the best based on their wants, their needs, and their desires, currently and projecting long term.